It's the car they said wouldn't work. A transverse-engined, front-wheel drive-based Range Rover with an emphasis on soft roading. Yet here we are 8 years later with the Evoque now accounting for a third of Land Rover sales and having become a bit of a design icon. So much so that this all-new generation doesn't stray too far from that hugely successful blueprint. Underneath, however, this is a vastly different Evoque. Now, despite being virtually all new, one thing that hasn't really blown us away about the Evoque is that it's put on weight compared to the old car. Yet, when you're driving it on these great curvy roads in Greece, it doesn't feel like that. It feels light and agile. In fact, it feels like a lighter, more agile version of a Velar, and that is exactly what the Evoque needed to be. The fact that it actually looks like a better Velar, like tougher, neater, just a little bit more interesting in my humble opinion, is probably the icing on the cake. That's going to make people want to buy this thing by the container load. Now, dynamically, it's a surprise that the Evoque actually has quite sharp steering. You don't need much steering lock to turn into these corners, and we're in pretty tight corners here. And it hangs on really well. The balance of the car is terrific. Adaptive dampers are fitted to all these launch cars and are likely to be standard on the upper spec models in Australia. No air suspension for this car, but it doesn't really need it. We've been on 21-inch wheels today, and we took this car off-road and through river crossings. And I think that anyone that does that with their own car is mad, but it's possible because it wasn't uncomfortable at all. From launch, the new Evoque will be available with a 48-volt mild hybrid powertrain option, exclusively on the top-spec P300 petrol variant in Australia, plus a dedicated 3-cylinder plug-in hybrid coming in around 12 months' time. 6 engines will be offered when the Evoque launches locally in May, 3 diesels and 3 petrols. However, only the D240 diesel and P250 petrol all-wheel drive variants, each with 9-speed automatic transmissions, were available to drive at the international launch. The diesel is from Jaguar Land Rover's Ingenium engine family, a 2-litre 4-cylinder producing 177 kilowatts and 500 newton metres. The Brits claim the Evoque D240 is good for 0 to 100 in a brisk 7.7 seconds and a combined fuel consumption figure of 6.2 litres per 100 kilometres. The P250 turbo petrol hails from the same engine family, but is quite different in character. Smoother and quieter, what it loses in fuel economy, it gains in refinement. The P250 produces 183 kilowatts and 365 newton metres, good for a 0 to 100 time of 7.5 seconds and a fuel consumption figure of 7.9 litres per 100 kilometres. What I like about the diesel is it's actually pretty smooth, even though you can still tell it's a diesel. It has this thrummy sort of charm about it that I actually think is quite endearing. It doesn't have heaps of grunt. Off the line it does seem to punch pretty well, but out on the highway it just seems a little bit flat-footed, like there's room to move, and I suppose being a turbo there always is. Now the variant that we're in here is the entry-level S. There's still the SE, HSE, R-Dynamic of all of that stuff. Probably something with about 800 words in the name above that. This is just a simple car, and simplicity is what works best in the Evoque. A world first in the new Evoque is clear sight ground view, using cameras mounted in the front grille and door mirrors to project an image onto the central touchscreen of what is ahead of and underneath the vehicle. It provides a virtual 180-degree view and transposes a pair of virtual front wheels in the exact position they'd be in, improving vision when negotiating not just extreme terrain, but also car park curbs in the urban jungle. The Evoque is also available with a smart rearview mirror that can transform into a high-definition video screen at the touch of a button on the base of the mirror itself. It does take some getting used to though. Kind of like when you get a new set of glasses with a slightly stronger prescription. The new Evoque is quite clever in its use of space. Despite having to make room for various battery components within the all-new PTA platform, while being roughly the same length as the previous Evoque, there's noticeably more room inside. Rear passengers gain 20mm of extra legroom, and there's more interior stowage space, including a central cubby capable of fitting tablets, handbags and bottles. And the Evoque's boot is 10% larger at 591 litres. Among the plethora of different upholstery options are 2 new sustainable varieties. There's an alternative to leather developed by Danish textile experts Vadrat, combining a durable wool blend with a technical Dynamica suede cloth made from 53 recycled plastic bottles per vehicle. The other is a eucalyptus textile produced from natural fibres that uses significantly less water when produced and is paired with a lightweight performance material not derived from animals. The steering wheel is made out of Dynamica suede cloth and is beautiful and does have a real race car kind of feel to it, which is ironic for a Range Rover Evoque. And it's even on the gear knob, which is finally not that ridiculous rotary controller that just drives me personally nuts. It's actually a proper gear lever, and it is a revelation after the last car's updated version. So 8 years after the original Evoque, we have this new generation car that looks similar to the original, but is just so much better. There's so much more depth and polish to this vehicle. And I think that even starting at $66,400, which is what the launch models will cost in Australia, there's value and luxury in this car that makes it something beyond the top spec Mazda CX-5s and that Australians generally seem to buy. I actually think that the Evoque is a better car than the Velar, better looking than the Velar, has more of a sense of luxury for its class, and I think that that means that this car, the Range Rover Evoque, is going to sell its absolute pants off. Thought I was going to say tits, but I said pants.